I know, there's so many hands. Everybody's doing so many different things here. So we'll move, by the way, a new studio opening soon, which is awesome. You got to see it. It looks freaking amazing. Just putting the final finishing touches, hoping to get you guys in there. So last night, like many of you, I'm sitting at my my office. I'm watching Fox News. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, of course, is giving a press conference with Donald Trump in the White House. And Donald Trump, rather matter-of-factly, drops the biggest public policy, foreign policy announcement in modern U.S. history about Israel. He says, let's listen to what he said. I mean, this happened. Play the cut if you would.
We'll take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, cue automatic media, liberal, progressive meltdown. People were losing their minds. Nobody knew what to do. Folks in the chat, how many of you were watching it live and responded how I did? He said that so matter-of-factly, and if you're going to make a major foreign policy announcement, typically what they do in the past is they tee it up. Tune in at 8, whatever, big announcement. Nobody said anything. This thing was delayed for, I think, an hour and 37 minutes or something like that. And now I think you know why. Here's what I think happened. He's sitting there in the Oval Office with Netanyahu. He's obviously telling Netanyahu he's going to say this. And Netanyahu's got to be looking at him like, what? You're going to say that now? You're right. He's like, he probably laughed the first time. Like, no, really? Like, is this real? Cue media meltdown immediately. Everyone lost their minds. Folks, Joy Reid didn't even know what to say. They were on MSNBC like, is this real? Do we react? Are we being played? Listen to me, okay? I'm going to help everyone out here. I can't say this enough to media people who constantly misinterpret and overreact this guy. This is the largest MAGA show out there, period. We're always ahead of it. We always drop W's because we don't overreact, and we know Donald Trump's debating and negotiating strategy. What is it? He does this all the time, folks. He drops a bomb maximalist position. In other words, 1 to 100, he drops 99.6. He's actually thinking 55.7, but he understands that even though he's thinking 55.7, that if he drops freaking 99.6 and he gets 75.2, he's about 20 points ahead of where he was at 55.6. About. You get it? He does this all the time. 25% tariffs on Canada. Okay, we're going to shut the fentanyl off. Okay, we'll delay them. He does it all the time. How many times are you guys going to get played? Holy shit, watching the media overreact is freaking hilarious. Every time. What do you think he's doing? You think he's going to drop the 101st Airborne into Gaza tomorrow? I'm sorry, man. It's just comical watching these people after now 4 years and 2 weeks of Trump, the 2016 term, and 2 weeks so far, that he does this over and over, and he always drops W's to Abraham Accords, and people they just keep falling for it. I'm sorry, I didn't finish my thought before. I've been so excited about today's show because I feel like if people would just watch this show, they would stop overreacting and have a better lick their finger feel for politics where the wind is blowing. My gosh. Did you guys respond like I did last night? I was telling the boys this morning when I came in. I hear this thing, and it was like he said it so matter-of-factly, I had to like rewind the thing. And I'm like, did he just say what I think he said, that the U.S. is going to take over Gaza? And I think the media was so surprised. If you guys missed it, the first question wasn't even about this major foreign policy statement prescription he put out. The first question was totally unrelated. And then Kelly O'Donnell from NBC, who's no friend of ours, by the way, but I think was the first one who got it, basically grabs the mic and is like, did you say we're going to take over Gaza? Like, she was the first one, I think, who caught it. Folks, he stakes out a maximalist position. Here's what's going on in Donald Trump's head, and I want you to think about this in context of the Abraham Accords. We don't cover a ton of foreign policy on this show. This is important because it's not just about foreign policy. It's about this is going to happen for 4 years. The Trump people I know have assured me and other people that the pace of change is not slowing down. This isn't a 2-week thing. This is a 4-year thing. So you better get used to it. And if you're not watching this show and you're going to overreact to every single thing, your freaking blood pressure is going to be through the roof and your pulse rate is going to be 122 at rest. Everybody chill. Not you out there. You guys are awesome. You get it. To the crazies. I saw Jonah Goldberg on Twitter. Things are getting dumber. No, you're getting dumber because you keep getting played. Here's what's going on. Think about it in context of the Abraham Accords. You know what? Can you guys pull this? I'm sorry. I don't know. Michael, look this up. John Kerry. There's a clip of him saying that there will be no solution to the peace in the Arab world without fixing the Palestinian problem. You have to understand with the Abraham Accords, Donald Trump, who does, listen to me, everyone, clearly, everyone put the horse blinkers on right now. Donald Trump does not give a shit about how you did things in the past. Let me say that again. He doesn't give a shit. All he cares about is fixing problems. When the Abraham Accords came around, where we had the Bahrain deal and the other deals over there, you know, with the air traffic and everything, they were great deals. Everyone told him, do not bother. You will never get any kind of a peace or cooperation deal, however you want to frame it, with Middle Eastern countries until you solve the Palestinian problem. Everybody said that. If we can find the John Kerry thing, I'll play. But folks, it wasn't just Lurch, John Kerry. Everybody said that. Guy, did everybody not say that? You don't fix the Palestinian problem, don't bother. Donald Trump's like, why? I'm just going to cut a deal, and I don't buy any of that shit. And you know what? He did. And everybody thought he was crazy. Hold that thought. You can't do that. You're never going to cut a deal. The Abraham Accords ain't going to happen. Fix the Palestinian problem. No, we'll fix that later. I'm doing this first. What else did they tell him? Remember when he moved the embassy to Jerusalem? What did they say? World War III. It's going to be over. The Arab world will never accept it. The whole place will get nuked. Did that happen? No. It didn't? Did it? Send me the World War III articles you have that happened in the middle. Oh, they didn't happen. It didn't happen. World War III didn't break out until Trump left office and October 7th happened when he wasn't in office. Everything these foreign policy experts, this is important, man. Listen to this, you dumbass media morons. Everything the foreign policy intelligentsia has told Donald Trump about the Middle East has turned out to be bullshit. How does this apply to yesterday? Everybody freaking out. Going to occupy the Gaza, the Middle East. Chill. Donald Trump is looking at Gaza, this little strip of land, tiny little strip of land. And Donald Trump, this waterfront, beautiful property that was, by the way, only handed over not that long ago to the Palestinians. So anyone telling you, oh my gosh, the Palestinians been there forever is full of shit. What was it, 2005 they handed it over? 2005, not 1905. So let's not pretend this is some generational thing, okay? That's just the hard facts. You don't have to believe it. I don't care. It's reality. Donald Trump's been told, hey, man, the foreign policy intelligentsia said, you got to let the Palestinians and the Israelis work this thing out. Eventually, they'll figure it out. And Donald Trump's like, but they haven't. But they haven't. The Israelis gave the land back to the Palestinians, who then used the land to bomb Israel. Whatever side you're on, you know where I stand on this. I've been very clear about my position about who the good guy and bad guy is in this fight. Wherever you stand, can we both agree that's true? Did it happen or did it not? End the story in the chat. I don't care how you feel. Just can we agree on the facts? Israel, whatever. They gave them back the land. Did it happen? Okay, yes, thank you. What happened? Attacks were then launched into Israel. Whatever position you have, that happened. Trump's like, clearly no one's fixing it. So here's what he said. He probably walked into Netanyahu, probably totally blindsided him and said, hey, I'm really, language alert, I'm sorry, but it's important here. Because this is probably the language used. So I don't mean this for effect. I can almost guarantee you he walked in there and said something to this effect and probably used the language too. He said, guys, you guys fucked this place up. I'm going to unfuck this right now. I'm coming in there with the big stick and I'm going to fix this place if I got to develop the damn thing myself if you guys don't unscrew it. I'm telling you that's what happened. You can believe it or you can laugh. I've been right about everything. You media people are always wrong. Here, you doubt me? Here's Politico playbook. I mean, these are like outright communists over at Politico this morning. They talked to some off-the-record guy. The official argued it's in the interest of other Arab powers like Saudi Arabia to find a solution to the conflict. Bongino's right again. Thank you. And that Trump throwing his ideas out there might inspire others to counter. As the source said himself, we'll see. Somebody gets it. Whoever Politico spoke to, shockingly, even a blind squirrel gets a nod, is 100% correct. He's telling the Saudis, he's telling UAE, he's telling the Kuwaitis, the Jordanians, he's telling everyone in the region, you guys have not this problem in 100 years. Fix it. Or I'm coming in there to do it. A couple other thoughts here. Trump is tired of the perma-war, okay? The permanent war status of the Middle East. Israel, Palestinians, Israel, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, Israel, Syria, Israel, Lebanon, Israel, the Golan. He's tired of it. He is the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military force in the cosmos. He's tired of it. He's telling them, un-F this situation, or I'm telling you, we're going to go and take it. He doesn't want the perma-war anymore. So for those of you out there saying, and by the way, I don't blindly defend anyone, and I hope you understand that. President Trump and I have a lot of agreements on a lot of issues. That's why I support him. We don't agree on everything, but don't tell me this guy's a warmonger. He's doing the exact opposite. He's tired of this situation. Perma war's over. He's saying, number two, fix it or I will. Third, he is trying to refocus the Hamas demon savages who just continuously go to the table and renegotiate on terror. We'll release a hostage. We change our mind. It'll be tomorrow. It'll be the next day. We're going to hold a few more. Now he's like, okay, I'll tell you what. You guys attacked on October 7th, and you thought you were going to establish like some new Hamas-level caliphate in the area, and Israel was going to be wiped out and abandoned. Trump's like, he's telling both sides, you guys better work this out because Hamas, now you will have nothing. You will have absolutely nothing. I will take everything from you. He is telling these Hamas clowns, you better get out. We gave you a shot. You effed it up. It's time to go, or you will have nothing. We will take everything from you. He is also trying to refocus the Arab world. He has repeatedly asked the Arab world, who claim to be for the Palestinians, why won't you take the Palestinians in? Remember, from, 48 to 67, who controlled the West Bank, that area, Judea and Samaria? The Jordanians. Why didn't they create a Palestinian state? Has anybody asked that question? Anyone? Jordan, no, we don't want to take in Palestinians. You're the ones advocating for them. Go take them in. Egypt's the same way. Egypt closing Philadelphia. No. Don't come here. Well, you got to really take care of the Palestinians. So take them in. You got a whole shit ton of land. Oh, we don't want to. Trump says, you don't want to? I'm emptying the place out. We're going to clean it out, clean up the ordinance. We're going to get, by the way, I don't want any taxpayer dollars paying for this. This has to be a regional thing. All you people say you want to help the Palestinians, here's my opening offer. I'm clearing everybody out of there. You're all going to put in billions of dollars. You're going to rebuild the place, and then you can move the Palestinians and others back in. There you go. What's your counter offer? Do you not see what's going on? He's sick of the perma war, man. Stop falling for every single maximalist position. By the way, I'm going to get to this in a second. Got to take a quick break. As you can tell, I came in today fired up for this show for obvious reasons. Something came out yesterday with the CIA. The Central Intelligence Agency, almost the entire workforce was offered a buyout. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not so sure these two stories are unrelated. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Really? Speculating a bit, to be fair, but we haven't been wrong about anything. Not lately. Not in a long time. Hey, is your risk high that an IRS agent is about to show up at your door over unpaid taxes or unfiled returns? Or that the IRS is about to freeze your bank accounts? Look, understanding your IRS risk level helps you decide how quickly you need to act. Take my advice and find out. Call the experts at Tax Network USA and share your situation. They'll advise if they believe your risk level is high, moderate, or low. It's a free service for my audience. It's 100% confidential. And if your risk is high and you want to resolve your IRS problems, Tax Network USA will take steps to help you do it. Nobody knows the IRS better. In fact, Tax Network USA is a preferred direct line, so they know which agents to deal with, which ones to avoid. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their genius strategies are designed to quickly settle your tax problems. Discovering your current IRS risk level is fast, free, and confidential. It's a smart first step in solving your tax problems. Call Tax Network USA at 1-800-958-1000. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dan. Thanks, Tax Network USA. We appreciate it. All right, back to the show. Man, I'm sorry. What's that? Oh, you got the John Kerry thing? Okay. I'm not sure if you're going to hear this anywhere else. You may. I'm pretty sure we're going to be first on this. But let me play, let me do this. Let me play John Kerry first. There is a story that broke yesterday about CIA officials and employees being offered buyouts, like a lot of them. And of course, the media freaked out again. What's Trump trying to do? This is crazy. Why would we be getting the CIA? Why would we be looking to get rid of some of these old school people? I mean, they've been right about everything. Winky, winky, nod, nod. I'm going to play this John Kerry clip, and I'll explain why I think these stories are related. Here is John Kerry speaking, by the way, for old school swampy Republicans too, who always said this: you will not do anything in the Middle East until you solve the Palestinian problem. Trump said, I'll try anyway. Check this out.
I can tell you that, reaffirmed even in the last week as I have talked to leaders of the Arab community. There will be no advance and separate peace with the Arab world without the Palestinian process and Palestinian peace. Everybody needs to understand that. That is a hard reality.
Where is he? He's at the Brookings Institute, where a lot of the people involved in the Russia collusion hoax worked. You starting to put two and two together, folks? I'm going to say something here that may be mildly controversial, but we don't really care, do we? Having the 2020 election stolen from us was a horrible thing, but I think Donald Trump has turned that into a huge W. How? No, I'm dead serious. I am as serious as a freaking stroke right now. 2016 was a warm-up. I think the Trump team themselves would admit to you they were blindsided by the deep state reaction. I really would. They came in, Trump's 20, he did a lot. The first term was great. The tax cuts, Supreme Court justices, the Abraham Accords. We got a ton done. Regulatory reform, no doubt. No, zero doubt about that. We got it done in spite of a massive deep state reaction. Follow me here. But it was unquestionably a warm-up. They figured out after that 4 years exactly the levers of power and how to manipulate them in the right way. And they understood where the pushback was going to come. They knew where the little holes in the chainmail were in the armor, right? 2020 stolen. They do all of this stuff that gins up public support against the Democrats, stoke inflation, an open border. What could have been an apocalyptic moment for the United States where we may not have survived. Donald Trump comes back, rescues the country in an electoral rout. Every single swing state takes back the Senate, really this control of the Supreme Court, takes back, wins the House. Donald Trump comes in with a vengeance, with an FAFO attitude, and says, now, whatever, every single hole in the armor, in the little chainmail we saw, we are going to exploit now. And now he is on a warpath. How does this relate to this story? He is tired of the intelligence community lying about the collusion hoax, about the Hunter Biden laptop, about there's never going to be a solution to the Middle East, Mr. President. Just sit down and shut up like every other Republican and Democrat. So you know what he said? If you guys can't provide freaking intelligence, then get the hell out of here and I'll do it myself. You want to see what happened? Play the clip from Jesse Waters' show last night. These stories are 100% related. You guys, he's saying to a lot of these, to not every single one of them, but to some intelligence folks out there who go, you guys have effed this thing up. I've given you a shot. It's Trump time now. Watch this.
CIA has reportedly just offered a buyout to its entire workforce. Everyone in the agencies telling employees late today they can quit their jobs and receive about 8 months of pay and benefits. It's a part of Trump's push to downsize the federal government.
Folks, the stories are, I'm absolutely certain the stories are related. Obviously, again, we use humor a lot and sarcasm to keep the show entertaining, but this is not an entertainment show. Hopefully it's educational entertainment, okay? He's not kidding around. The FAFO presidency is 100% a real thing. He has turned the 2020 thievery into the biggest W of all time, and we're only 2 weeks in. And I have been assured by people in the know that this is not going to stop. You have 4 years. So I'm asking you this as I kind of get, because I got a ton of other stuff to get to. USAID, what's happening at the border. The winning is just, I'm serious. The winning is so overwhelming. These guys will tell you, we're not even, you know, want to see where we are in the show? Where are we in the show, guys? Elements. We're not into the first element. This stuff was added this morning. Look, that's my actual, I don't know if you can see that. I had to add all this stuff at the top. The first line of the show we haven't even gotten to yet. I'm dead serious. They know I can't even cover all the winning. He is not kidding around. So I'm just asking you this. Do not, ow, that hurt my knee. Oh, gosh, I moved at the wrong angle. I'm just asking you this. Please don't overreact to every single thing. I know that doesn't apply to you, but to people who are new here, the political normie crowd out there who hasn't been following this like we have forever, this is how Trump negotiates. He drops a PR maximalist bomb at 100. He's expecting a 50, but he knows if he drops 100, that 50's the floor and he may get 75. He does it all the time. He's not invading Gaza tomorrow. I promise you, on my reputation, he is not dropping a Marine unit, expeditionary unit into Gaza tomorrow. He's waiting for a counteroffer. And if he doesn't, then we'll have to reset the argument. Everybody cool with my explanation? Sorry, I'm following the chat because the chat is absolutely on fire today. I knew it. I know I got to get to the spot, but I'm telling you, man, I'm watching this presser last night. I had no idea, by the way. Donald Trump doesn't call me and tell me what he's going to talk about. I had no idea. I'm telling you, I almost fell off the chair. I'm not being silly or hyperbolic about it. I almost fell off the chair. I was like, I got to catch myself. I'm like, did he just say that? All right, quick break. And the W's are coming in left and right. I haven't even gotten to my immigration story yet. This sheet is a mess. I can barely read it. Right like a doctor. I wish I thought like one. Hey, Paul and I only have Helix mattresses in our house because they're the best we've ever slept on. The only problem with the Helix mattress, you never want to sleep in a hotel because you want to desperately get back to your Helix mattress. Folks, sleep. You've got to sleep good at night. It's when your body heals. You want to sleep without interruption and comfortably. We had a guest stay over not that long ago. It was my dad. And we had him in the guest room. Absolutely loved the Helix mattress. Helix can help you if you have minor pains, if you snore, even if you sleep too hot. That's me. Visit helixsleep.com/Dan and get started. So many of my listeners have chosen Helix, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, Bongino Army. It's making a difference in their lives. Helix mattresses can help figure out which mattress will work best for you. I won't sleep on anything else. Helps me get through a hectic day. Once you get your mattress delivered, you can finally get some comforting sleep. And right now for my listeners, Helix, Helix, is offering 20% off site-wide, plus 2 free dream pillows with a mattress purchase. That's helixsleep.com/Dan for 20% off site-wide, plus 2 free dream pillows with a mattress purchase. Check them out. It's a really good mattress. helixsleep.com/Dan. They've been a longtime supporter of the show, and I want you to know we appreciate it. helixsleep.com/Dan. Our last sponsor today is, it said that 4 companies control over 80% of the U.S. meat industry. Moink. Try what the food is delicious. They sent us a sample pack. I got to tell you, folks, I'm not really a huge fan of cooking. I like to go out and buy some. I changed my mind with the Moink sample pack. Matter of fact, Paula didn't even know. She gets the sample pack, and she's like, I'm going to cook this steak for you. She didn't tell me it was from them. It was awesome. Listen, Americans are stuck with sketchy meat. China controls the largest portion of U.S. pork. So what can we do about this? I want to tell you about Moink. Moink's meat comes from animals raised outdoors, and they deliver meat straight to your doorsteps at prices you can actually afford. It is absolutely delicious. I like mine seared a little bit, a little crust on the top. Beautiful. Born, raised, and harvested right here in the U.S. They sent me some. It was incredible. Taste the difference in quality. Check it out. Moink, Moink, Moink. It's really making a big difference in meals for my family. Everything tastes amazing. Support American family farms. Join the Moink movement today at moinkbox.com/Bongino and get free wings for life. You're not going to get a better deal. They're the best wings you'll ever taste for free. You got the big game coming up this weekend, but for a limited time. So check it out. Spelled Moink, M-O-I-N-K. Moinkbox.com/Bongino. That's moinkbox.com/Bongino. Check it out. Thanks, Moink. Okay, back to the show. So, folks, the W's are coming in left and right. The winning is so much and so voluminous that the left doesn't know how to respond. Self-praise stinks, but I don't really care at this point. I told you after the election in November, when we won every single swing state, that the next day that they were going to do the Rock'em Sock'em robots, okay? You got the Trump face on. It's still not broken, by the way. I told you that was going to happen. If you talk to people on the inside of the Trump orbit, they said, this is it. We learned from the first term. We are not going to stop. We are going to hit them with everything all at once, and they don't know how to respond. And that's why you see this chaos on the left, and you're seeing all these W's. Bill Malugin, Fox. Look at this tweet. This guy covers immigration really well. Again, the lowest number of recorded illegal crossings he's ever seen. Folks, it's only been 2 weeks. 446 across the southern border. 446. He notes that's unheard of. There were 11,000 plus in one day during Biden in December of 2023. Biden's final week of office, remember where they were bragging about the border because they were flying everyone in, was still 12 to 1,400 a day. Malugin notes, basically, we haven't even passed any legislation yet. This was all done by executive action that I'd like to note Joe Biden said what? He couldn't do. Because he's full of crap. Folks, the deportation flights have begun to Gitmo as well. You come here, you break the law, you become a hardcore criminal and are in the country illegally, you are not going to find your ass here. You're going to find your ass over in Guantanamo Bay. You don't like it? There's an easy way to not be in Guantanamo Bay. Don't enter the United States illegally. You doubt me? Here it is from the administration themselves. Check this out.
Is not messing around, and he's no longer going to allow America to be a dumping ground for illegal criminals from nations all over this world. And so El Salvador has not just agreed to the repatriation of their own citizens, but also illegal criminals from other nations who will then be sent to their prisons. Venezuela as well has agreed to repatriation flights, and Colombia also agreed to cooperate with the repatriation of illegal Colombian nationals that we have found in the interior of our country. And I can also confirm that today, the first flights from the United States to Guantanamo Bay with illegal migrants are underway.
Now, before I get to my next video here, Tom Homan, which is great. Governor Phil Murphy, liberal communist from New Jersey, thought he was going to play around. I think we're harboring it illegal. Tom Homan's like, really? We're going to come check that out. All of a sudden, Phil Murphy, governor of New Jersey, is changing his mind. Before I get to that, I want to get big picture again. Pull yourself out, bird's eye view here. Tie this back to the Trump negotiating strategy I opened up with in the beginning of the show. Trump's negotiating strategy, which has been led to a series of wins we have not seen in a 2-week period, I think ever, is based on him dropping the maximalist position from the start. You don't want to unscrew the Middle East? We're coming in. We'll fix it for you. Okay? How does that tie to this? Because the thing about Trump's debating strategy and negotiating strategy, is a maximalist position only works, follow me here, is if sometimes you mean it. Because they don't know if you're always bluffing, no one's ever going to do anything, correct? So when Trump takes a maximalist position and gets no results from, say, Democrats, sometimes you got to follow through. How does that relate to this story? When Trump originally brought up the Gitmo idea, I'm telling you, there are people on the left who are like, take him, seriously, but not literally. He's not going to actually send people to Gitmo. Oh, no, they're going. No, it's happening. Do you get what I'm saying? The reason his maximalist positions work is because the Arab world, Mexico, Canada, they're like, wait, is he really going to do that? If it's not believable, nobody would respond. So be cautious, too, about going, he's bluffing. He's not bluffing. He's taking a maximalist position that if he doesn't get results, you may see, and it'll be a different show. Here's another one. Folks, cutesy time is over. I don't know how many times I got to say this. This guy is not messing around. You are going to get your ass kicked if you are an anti-Trumper for the next 4 years if you don't understand. He's not kidding. He is the president. You have one way to get rid of him, impeachment, and you don't have the numbers. I'll get to that story tomorrow, by the way. It's already in the works by the left, of course, like I said. Here's Tom Homan, our border czar, who's been a gift to this country. What a patriot. Talking about the New Jersey governor saying, you know what, we're harboring an illegal or something like that. And Homan's like, really? Folks, they're not kidding. Check this out.
Let me read a headline to you. Chicago leaders encourage residents to exercise their rights in resisting Trump's deportation policies. The governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, basically admitted that he knew somebody that didn't have full documentation, that he was hiding over his garage.
But there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
Your comment on all of that?
Well, I think the governor's pretty foolish saying what he said, because I got note of it. Won't let it go. We'll look into it. And if he's knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien, that's a violation of Title 8 United States Code 1324. I would seek prosecution, or the secretary would seek prosecution.
Folks, cutesy time is freaking over. He's not kidding. I don't know what the governor thinks he's doing. When you're the governor of a major state, you're not immune from federal law. The Democrats just made a huge argument about Donald Trump should be locked up for actual official acts. Governor Murphy appeared to just admit to committing a crime completely outside his job scope on a public interview. That's how stupid they are. But again, the maximalist position, because Homan and Donald Trump are obviously working. If you just admitted to a crime, they're going to investigate. If you think he's kidding, good luck. I don't know how many times you guys are going to get burned by this. Folks, there is big money for the left in illegal immigration. I've already told you how they use the demographics of illegal immigration because they talk about it all the time. Just put in a search engine, Democrats, demographic destiny. You'll see 1,000 sound bites. They use illegal immigration to keep their voting power and their populations high in blue states so they can keep their members of Congress and maintain electoral college power. But there's another reason they love illegal immigration, too. And the other one is there's huge money in it for left-wing NGOs that then go out and gin up support for Democrats as they're taking money from the government for illegal immigration. Did you see this clip? These numbers are staggering. There are big, big dollars to be made if you support an open border. You want to know why people love illegal immigration? Follow the money, bro. Watch this.
Well, I'd like to ask Mr. Carroll and anybody else who would like to answer this. Can you name some of these NGOs that have specifically taken these hundreds of millions of dollars and not used it to protect these children?
Catholic Charities, Lutheran Family Services, Jewish Family Services. I spoke to a gentleman that works in DHS. He actually sends the electronic fund transfers, and I asked him, sir, tell me who do you send, who are you responsible for, and how much is the largest check you cut? He said, I'm over Jewish Family Services, and I cut a check for $600 million. And I said, is that for like 3 years? And he told me, JJ, get in the game. That's 2 or 3 months, and it's renewable. That's one NGO. And I said, well, Catholic Charities is bigger than Jewish Family Services. Yes, they get the same or more.
I don't care what your religion is. If you're breaking the law, I'm a Christian. I would never support a group that said Christians for illegal immigration. Folks, there's big money in this. And to the opponents of Donald Trump, he is not kidding. There is a reason he's got Doge in there. There's a reason he's got Elon in there. Cutesy time has absolutely come to an end. Pete Hegseth, Secretary Pete Hegseth was down at the border, Secretary of Defense as well. They have now effectively moved military assets to the border because they are telling you and they're warning you the freaking border's closed, bro. You think we're kidding? You're going to find yourself in a prison or in Guantanamo Bay. Do not test us. Here was Pete Hegseth. This is quick, but the secretary was down there at the border, was talking to a bunch of our military officials here. And this is what we need. This is why the recruiting numbers just 2 weeks in have spiked to highs we haven't seen in 15 years for our military. Thank you to all the wonderful patriots who've signed up. We love you. Here's Secretary Hegseth. We are war fighters. That's what we do. It's not a freaking social justice experiment, our military. Watch this.
It's real basic, it's real straightforward. We are warfighters. We train to be lethal, we train to prepare for and fight wars if our nation requires us to do so. Full stop, end of sentence.
Folks, have you ever seen such a transformation like this between the border, between the military, between Elon and Doge, and the gutting of government agencies that have worked against our interests for years? Have you ever seen anything like this? I'm telling you, it reminds me of the movie Seven. Remember when they're trying to find a serial killer, Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, and he whispers in his ear, have you ever seen anything like this? Folks, I knew Donald Trump was coming into office to shake things up. So did many of you. You know, I knew the rock'em sock'em was coming. But I got to tell you honestly, this has far surpassed my expectations. He's not kidding around, and he's hit them with so many different fronts, they don't know what to do. Now, yesterday I said it's his most important fight yet, this fight with USAID, and I'm sticking to that. USAID, not USAID, don't fall for the scam. It is not an aid organization. It is a deep state slush fund screwing over America. The left has chosen this fight, at least for yesterday, until the Gaza thing happened last night. They have chosen this fight to melt down over because they realize if they don't have the deep state funding a censorship operation. And by the way, Chris from Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO of Rumble, he tweeted out this morning. So let me get this straight. USAID, did you see the story that broke this morning? USAID was funding left-wing media outlets in the United States to the tune of millions of dollars that then went on and attacked Elon Musk and Rumble. Chris tweeted that out, and then Elon wrote, agreed, look at this. Do you understand your tax dollars are being used to censor you? That's why the left is freaking out. They have to censor you, or else leftist stupidity will be exposed as you expose it. You're the media now. So the meltdown continues. It was a deep state slush fund, USAID, and it was a jobs program. Now you're starting to realize, is this starting to make sense to you? Folks in the chat, man, pay attention. This is really important, okay? Do you understand everything I've told you is now kind of coming to fruition here? Everything the left does is fake. Their media model is fake, funded by your taxpayer dollars and BS. Their elections, fake. Their base, fake. Their media audience, fake. Their issues, fake. Everything the left stands for is fake. Trump has exposed all of it in 2 weeks. That's why you see this last night. Joy Reid, who at the end of this claimed later on that this is a coup, this battle against USAID. She, of course, is the gold medal winner in our dopey media talking head Olympics. Expect these meltdowns to continue as they realize they can't censor us, at least with our own money anymore. Watch this.
We begin tonight with a full-on crisis in our democracy, as federal workers are literally locked out of their offices while operatives working for a private citizen essentially take over our government. Their tactics include turning off our federal websites, deleting government-funded research that you, the taxpayer, paid for to impose speech codes, bullying news organizations by demanding interview transcripts, implementing an FBI purge, locking federal workers out of their computers, and even turning them away at their offices while giving themselves, without congressional or any other authorization, full access to the personal data of tens of millions of Americans.
The personal data of tens of, you mean like the OPM hack that happened under Obama, or the hack of our infrastructure system under Biden? So you've got an American citizen, by the way, subject to the same rules everyone else, are doing nothing illegal, going in and looking at payment systems that have paid off terrorists and everyone else. And Joy Reid's freaking out about it. Why? Because when the money dries up, so does the censorship. And then idiots like Joy Reid, if they can't censor you, are forced to defend their own stupidity. That's why they're freaking out. Have you ever seen anything like this? I know you haven't. Because I'm 50, so I'm going to guess 50 years old, that about half my audience is above and below my age. I have never, ever, in my 50 years on this planet, seen anything like the last 2 weeks. Ever. I don't know how I'm going to recover from this show after 4 years. I'm going to have to start taking blood pressure medication. Here's a USAID employee. This is an ABC segment talking about how Elon and his crew of mini brainiacs came in to look at the USAID system, and all of a sudden they started putting away the pride flags, and all of a sudden it's a workplace. It's not an activist zone. You want to put all that stuff up? Fine. You have these beliefs? Fine. Put them up in your own house. It's a constitutional republic. Notice how that's the first thing they focus on in their government jobs, by the way. Check this out.
It was late last week that the Doge team showed up at USAID offices in Washington and demanded access. USAID employee Christina Dry described the scene.
Doge was in the building. We took down our pride flags. I took out any books I felt would be incriminating. No one was talking. We heard they started taking transcripts automatically of all of our Google Meets. They unplugged the news in the little kitchen galleys. It didn't feel good. And then Saturday, all of the websites went down. And then I lost complete access to my computer.
Notice the sense of entitlement with these employees, as if that this job is somehow their own personal business, not a taxpayer-funded enterprise that's been working against U.S. interests. Ladies and gentlemen, USAID is a huge deal. It is the biggest fight right now. That's why always measure the effectiveness of what you're doing by your opponent's response. They are freaking out at about a level 8.5 out of 10 because when the money train to all these left-wing organizations dries up, then they stop ginning up voter support. They stop knocking on doors for Democrats. If you're like, oh, it's only $40 billion, their budget, do you have any idea? Folks, the Donald Trump presidential campaign was about $1 billion. Can you imagine what $40 billion will do? It's a huge deal. This is a great clip. It's a little long, but I want to let it play out. It's about 1:30. It's worth your time. This is Glenn Greenwald and the great Mike Benz, who is our deep state specialist. I want you to listen to the question and then Benz's answer about USAID, how USAID, everything they do is never what they say they do. If they say it's a water project, it's really some anti-democracy project, and how they have this sense of entitlement like, hey, just give us the money and shut up. That's why they're so offended about what's going on right now. Watch this.
Whether you like it or not, Donald Trump has deputized Elon Musk to have this agency that's designed to eliminate waste, as the White House sees it. Wasteful spending, unnecessary spending. And so when the people that are part of this effort that Donald Trump has created after he won the election went to USAID, and it's happened in other agencies too, you see almost this physical resistance, like, how dare you come into our realm? You don't run us. You're just the elected part of the government. We're this agency that exists independent of you. Where does this mentality come from that they have this right to pursue their own agenda independent of any elected officials or elected parts of the government?
Well, the entire agency exists as a carefully constructed lie. And just like James Clapper and John Brennan and Leon Panetta, these are the holders of the great American, closet of skeletons of state secrets. And you don't just hand that over to a random taxi cab driver because 51% of the population elected him because he does funny TikTok dances. What I'm trying to say here is if you remember the recalcitrance around sharing intelligence with President Trump both in his 2016 presidential run and then again in the lead up to the 2024 election. I think what's happening at USAID is essentially an echo of that, which is that USAID is supposed to be untouchable. I mean, virtually, there's no USAID project on God's green earth that is honest.
That is probably the most critical piece of information you can have. The USAID effort is not genuine. They're not out there trying to help people. They're trying to enact a bunch of anti-democratic and prop up a bunch of NGO left-wingers who are going to help Democrats stay in power. That's it. That's why you saw an insurrection yesterday up outside of USAID. You did? Yeah, did you miss this? By the Democrats' own definition of an insurrection, invading buildings, walking through open doors, this was an actual insurrection. This happened yesterday. This is why they're freaking out. Watch this. This is about 15 seconds. Check this out.
As you probably saw, Elon Musk and his crew put a gag order on AID employees. They disconnected them from email, which is putting lives at risk around the world. So we are here to enter the building, and so we can hear firsthand from whoever is here at AID, or at least witness firsthand what is happening with this Elon Musk attempted takeover, which will not stand. We will prevail. Let's go.
And then they go and walk in the building. I thought walking in the building was a freaking insurrection, but like the Chewbacca guy or something. Folks, they're freaking out because the gravy train, man, is over. The Heritage Foundation put this tweet up, and they're so right, about USAID, which is the deep state piggy bank. Number one, the deep state's not a thing. Now they're like, okay, it's kind of a thing, but it's not that significant. Remember Margaret Brennan? It's only 1% of spending. Now, number three, okay, the deep state is significant, but it's a great thing. We got to defend it. Now we're at number four. If you're opposed to the deep state, then you're the problem. Citing dopey-ass Bill Kristol, the deep state is far preferable to the Trump state. That's Michael Anton. The deep state's not happening, but it's great that it is. Let's defend it. I got to show you this. I can't leave. I can't leave without showing you this. Everybody stand by. Don't even dare go anywhere. Everybody needs to see this. I'm sorry, that sounded kind of like a toolbox thing to say. Don't go anywhere. This is absolute peak Donald Trump. Did you see this yesterday? It just goes to show you how a guy who is just this high-level negotiator, probably one of the most skilled politicians of our time, based on pure results, man. Pure results. Won 3 elections in a row. Right? But he can also be funny and endearing at the same time. I know you may have seen this. This is the presser yesterday. A woman gets up to ask a question. It was about Afghan women. I had a hard time understanding, too. She had a very thick accent, but Donald Trump had to let her down a little bit easy. This is fantastic. Check this out.
I have a little hard time understanding you. Where are you from? Actually, it's a beautiful voice and a beautiful accent. The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this. Good luck. Live in peace. Go ahead, please.
Did you guys see that as it happened? This is just peak Donald Trump, man. It's just who he is. No one plays the room like a puppeteer like this guy. Nobody. He drops this major foreign policy bombshell totally out of the blue, stokes out a maximalist position. The whole world responds. And 8-10 minutes later, he's got everyone laughing. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't understand. It's a beautiful voice, but live in peace. That's it's just peak Donald Trump. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in, folks. We had a great day at Rumble. We're doing huge things over there. Absolutely love what's going on at Rumble. I really appreciate your support. Please download the Rumble app. If you want to subscribe to Rumble Premium, we'd love to have you. You won't get those mid-roll ads. So we'd really appreciate that. Rumble.com/Bongino. We're live every day at 11 a.m. You can watch the show on Rumble anytime on demand. And if you wouldn't mind, help us out over at Spotify and Apple. We'd appreciate it. Go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Hey, how you doing? DL Rice 64 saying to me, how you doing, Vince?
How you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? Tom Homan. I love the how you doing. I think we need a Friday how you doing from Tom Homan. I like that guy. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's busy though. You see what he's up to? These guys they're deporting a lot of people. They want to deport a lot more people. We got an update today on just how frequently these illegals, this plan to get the illegals out of the country is leading to assaults on members of ICE. It's crazy. Breitbart's got this really important report that assaults on ICE are now, remember I've been using the number 400% to describe all of this. Now it's even, unfortunately, higher. Take a look. ICE assaults are now up 500%. 500% increase in assaults on these ICE agents while they're trying to arrest illegals. This is what the left has created. Of course, they've created all this chaos. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents now, according to Breitbart, are facing a 500% increase in assaults as they attempt to locate and arrest illegal aliens living in the United States of America. That's according to Department of Homeland Security data that was just obtained by Breitbart. Tricia McLaughlin, you've seen her on the program. She said the following to Breitbart, quote, today, the Department of Homeland Security has released new data revealing that ICE law enforcement is now facing that 500% increase in assaults while merely carrying out their job, enforcement operations. McLaughlin pointed to the recent arrest of Roberto Carlos Munoz, an illegal alien and convicted child sex offender. The guy, the bad dude, dragged an ICE agent 50 yards with his car as he attempted to evade arrest in Bloomington, Minnesota. She said just this week, an ICE officer dragged 50 yards by a car, arresting an illegal alien sex offender. Every day, the men and women of ICE are putting their lives on the line to protect and to defend the lives of American citizens. And then she called out all the people we've been calling out. Hakeem Jeffries, Michelle Wu, Tampon Tim Walz, Karen Bass for Los Angeles. All these people who constantly are attacking ICE agents, treating them like garbage, and suggesting they're doing something nefarious by actually enforcing the law. So this is the big thing. I realize there's a lot of stuff going on. The Iran thing, it matters immensely. But in terms of what's happening domestically, there's nothing more important than getting control of our country and getting our sovereignty back. Tom Homan and company trying to do that. The left actively working against them and hectoring and threatening and harassing ICE agents with each passing day. And this happened again this week. Eric Swalwell, who is chat, I mean, is the right word tool for Eric Swalwell? Is that the right tool? Is that the right word? I think tool is the correct term. We got to bring that back. Eric Swalwell is a tool. Here he is attacking ICE agents again this week for protecting their identities. Take a look at cut 8 here. Eric Swalwell.
I've heard enough in the last couple weeks about ICE agents and wearing masks that I think when we win the majority in the House, you're going to see enough Democrats make it a priority for ICE enforcement that they are no longer faceless. It looks too much like some 1800s bank robber or, some KGB officer in Russia, pulling protesters off the streets. And
what
that's
a jackass.
It really bothers people that that's how they're conducting it. And so show us your face.
No, it doesn't.
Is going to be a part of, I think, a democratic enforcement policy in the future.
Okay, look, this little turd, the whole point is to threaten ICE agents. That's what Eric Swalwell's doing. He wants their identities exposed so that people can dox and threaten the ICE agents. There's no other explanation for this. None whatsoever. There's no decency underlying any of this. It's to harass these people. In fact, Swalwell is such a ridiculous figure that it took like 4 seconds to find evidence of the fact that he's just straight up lying about his position on masks anyway. Go back to 2021. Here's an actual tweet from Congressman Fang Fang. He wrote, I had a mask on as I stepped off the floor. An aide for Marjorie Taylor Greene yelled at me to take my mask off. No one should be bullied for wearing a mask, Swalwell declared. So I told the bully what I thought of his order. Predictably, he went speechless. I regret I wasn't more explicit. No one should be bullied for wearing a mask, says this moron. Tool is the word, says Nordmeyer. Yeah, I totally agree. Tool is the word. The guy's a tool. You know, little Dennis the Menace, Eric Swalwell. He's a whack job. But there he is. He's the guy who is still rooting for the destruction of ICE here, as ICE is just simply trying to do its job every single day. That's it, to get all these illegals out of the country. All right, so we get the assaults on ICE going up. Eric Swalwell has been rooting on the assaults on ICE. But in the process, who are these ICE agents actually picking up? Who are the bad dudes that are being picked up by ICE agents with each passing day? Well, Kristi Noem just listed out a few of them. Take a look at Cut 9. Here's the DHS secretary laying out the bad dudes that we picked up just in the last week alone.
Every day I get handed a list of the people that we've arrested in this country that are here illegally, that are criminals. And these are some of the worst of the worst. Here we have a Guatemalan we picked up today. Aggravated assault against a police officer. This one, rape of a victim under age of 17 years old.
Oh my
this
God.
one robbed a disabled senior citizen. This individual, 12 different sex offenses against children. If you look at it, it's 2 counts of statutory rape of a child, 2 counts of indecent assault and battery. These guys are off the street today because of the work of our ICE enforcement officers, law enforcement across the country. Thank you for making America safe again. And thank you, President Donald J. Trump.
Okay, so that's who Eric Swalwell is trying to defend. I'm sorry, that's just true. That's who Eric Swalwell is standing up for the rapists, the murderers, the pedophiles. That's who he's standing up for. And, you know, maybe he's smart enough to know what he's doing, and this is just malice. Maybe he's just a complete moron who can be taken advantage of by a Chinese spy called Fang Fang. He became convinced that somehow she had a bad case of the Eric Swalwells, that something about his personality was just that attractive to a foreign woman. She just adored him. And, you know, Swalwell, he's just got this cross he has to bear. It is so ridiculous. It is so completely ridiculous. And so he roots on the pedophiles, the murderers, the rapists. Meanwhile, the rest of us root on order and bringing back our country, getting our sovereignty restored. So good for the DHS secretary. I know they want to deport a lot more people. That's why they want the big, beautiful bill passed. They want to get that thing out of the Senate, onto the president, and passed, because they're going to get a lot more funding for ICE, law enforcement, border security, to get rid of more of what Kristi Noem called the dirt bags we have here. Just a few of the dirt bags that we picked up, she carefully explained. Would like to see more of that. Also, there are ways to convince illegals that it's not worth the effort of staying in the country. In fact, things could get kind of miserable for you if you keep doing that. Florida's Attorney General, James Uthmeier, that's how he pronounces his name. I didn't realize that. It's Uthmeier. He has a plan for something he's calling alligator Alcatraz. Take a look at this. Chat, tell me if you endorse this idea as we play this clip for you. Here is Florida's Attorney General, Cut 3, advocating for creating a detention space in the Everglades surrounded by alligators. Look.
Attorney General James Uthmeier here at the Miami-Dade Collier training facility. This is an old, virtually abandoned airport facility right in the middle of the Everglades. Florida's been leading on immigration enforcement, supporting the Trump administration and ICE's efforts to detain and deport criminal aliens. The governor tasked state leaders to identify places for new temporary detention facilities. I think this is the best one. As I call it, Alligator Alcatraz. This 30 square mile area is completely surrounded by the Everglades. Presents a efficient, low-cost opportunity to build a temporary detention facility because you don't need to invest that much in the perimeter. People get out, there's not much waiting for them other than alligators and pythons. Nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Within just 30 to 60 days after we begin construction, it could be up and running and could house as many as 1,000 criminal aliens. This presents a great opportunity for the state of Florida to work with Miami-Dade and Collier counties. Alligator Alcatraz, we're ready to go.
Alligator Alcatraz, we're ready to go. Now, theoretically, they wouldn't have to stay there that long, but just the idea that we open Alligator Alcatraz, and I'm all in on President Trump accentuating this, calling it that, being like, hey, by the way, we're going to send people to Alligator or Alcatraz. So what are our options right now for sending some of these illegals out? At the moment, we can send them to Gitmo. We can send them to Guantanamo Bay. President Trump's been doing that. Some of these really violent ones, they're sending all the way to El Salvador for that high security prison for gangsters where they get their heads shaved and then they're packed in like sardines. And then Alligator Alcatraz. You want to be here in the United States illegally, especially committing acts of violence against the American people? Yeah, that's not going to happen. On your way out, you'll have a stay in Alligator Alcatraz. And I love the Attorney General be like, we really don't need a security perimeter. We won't have to set up anything. It's not like you're going to get far. It's Florida, and it's Florida in the summer. This is South Florida, baby. It is not easy. Dead in the middle of the state. There's nothing there but an old airstrip and a lot of alligators. So, Chad, how we feeling about this? Chat, yes, do it, says Santra47. That's a long yes to this. Bump McGroin says, illegals equal alligator food. Yeah, we could see that happening. And then Bandit Darville says, America, fuck yeah. Alligator Alcatraz. That's really funny. And good. The whole point is it's supposed to be a deterrent. Yes, it's a little trolly. But it's supposed to be a deterrent. How did Trump lock down the border? How did Trump get to the point where the president gets to the point where nobody's coming across? Nobody's coming across. 0 illegals released into the United States in May. How did that even happen? The answer to that is because the world is on notice. Everybody knows that this is a fool's errand to try and come into the United States now. So if you can project that it's a fool's errand to be in the United States illegally, to stay here as tens of millions of people have, well, then you can compel them to leave on their own. Self-deportations are already on the rise. We've been going over the numbers this past week. I was telling you about the New York Post op-ed on this subject. They dug into the numbers. Nearly 1 million self-deportations already since Trump has been in office. 1 million. Now, is that anywhere near solving our problem? No, it's not. But it's progress. And it's a lot more progress than we've had in many, many years. And that predates the first Trump administration because the Washington establishment has been totally fine with letting illegals into our country and letting it be overrun. So a fun idea from the Attorney General of Florida saying, yeah, this is a way to get rid of these guys. Now, in reaction to immigration enforcement, the left, of course, has been rioting. In addition to inducing threats against ICE, like Eric Swalwell's doing, and leading to assaults on ICE, they've been rioting in major American cities, not least of all Los Angeles. We've been watching these riots take place in order to stop immigration enforcement. This is lawlessness in support of lawlessness. That's what they're doing. And so the president mobilized two big forces of troops. He mobilized the National Guard in California. He took control of the National Guard and he said, go in, restore order. And he sent in the Marines. We got a lot of Marines stationed in California, conveniently located. The president sends them from 29 Palms in to help bring order to Los Angeles. And we've seen those images. We've seen the Marines doing the job. We've seen the National Guard doing the job. And by the way, God bless you fellas for doing that. Thank you for that. Restoring order to this country. That's what we need. And so greasy Gavin Newsom has objected to this because he wants the lawlessness. He's been endorsing it too, like Eric Swalwell. And so he began bringing this to the court system. He said, guys, get in the way here. Stop Trump from doing this. Stop him. He can't have control of the National Guard. It's my National Guard, Gavin Newsom insisted, like the little tyrant he is. But I'm here to tell you, Gavin Newsom just suffered yet another setback in this idiotic position that he's taken. Take a look at this report. Last night, we get this update that an appeals court, not just any appeals court, wait until you hear which one, has blocked Gavin Newsom's bid to reclaim control of the National Guard from Trump. This is wonderful. A federal appeals court has indefinitely blocked California Governor Gavin Newsom's effort to reclaim control of the National Guard troops that President Trump deployed to Los Angeles. The 3-judge panel of the San Francisco-based Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's right, you heard me correctly. The nutty Ninth, the normally nutty Ninth, ruled unanimously that President Trump has acted completely within his authority when he took control of 4,000 California National Guard troops under a law that's never been invoked without the consent of a state governor, Politico adds. So the nutty ninth comes in and says, yes, of course, the law is crystal clear here. This is Trump's job. This is Trump's job to do. Now, they point out in this Politico piece that among the judges who were involved here, again, a unanimous decision from this 3-judge panel, 2 of them were appointed by President Trump. 1 of them was appointed by President Biden, or whoever was running the White House. But President Otto Penn's White House installed one of the judges who ruled on this, and they unanimously concluded that Trump has the power here. They said Trump's got enormous latitude to determine that the protests and the related violence were interfering with the execution of federal law. The judges did say that there are limits to the president's ability to call up the guard, but there was definitely enough evidence of civil unrest and danger to federal officials to justify Trump's actions. Now, remember, Gavin Newsom came out and he said, no, this is fine. We don't need the National Guard in here. I'm not deploying them because we don't even need them. The LAPD has it covered, he claimed as he lied. And that wasn't true. And 3 judges, to include 1 appointed by President Otto Penn, determined it wasn't true. There was dramatic danger and civil unrest going on in LA, such that the president's totally within his power to deploy the National Guard, to take control of the California National Guard and deploy them. Now, the president of the United States is very pleased with the outcome here, and rightfully so. Not all of these decisions have been breaking his way, but good to see this one doing that. Here's the president saying, big win in the Ninth Circuit, he wrote on Truth Social, on the president's core power to call in the National Guard. The judges obviously realized that Gavin Newsom is incompetent and ill-prepared, but this is much bigger than Gavin. Because all over the United States, if our cities and our people need protection, we are the ones to give it to them, the president wrote. Should state and local police be unable, for whatever reason, to get the job done? By the way, for whatever reason means if Democrats get in the way of law enforcement, that the federal government can come in and save those American citizens. He says, he writes, this is a great decision for our country, and we will continue to protect and defend law-abiding Americans. Congratulations to the Ninth Circuit. America is proud of you tonight. Yeah. No, that's true. I'm happy about this outcome. I'm very happy about this outcome. And I am shocked that it was the nutty ninth. This is the kind of circuit court that the left usually goes judge shopping for. If they're going to place it in any circuit, they want to place it in the Ninth Circuit because they believe it'll always stop Trump, regardless of how legal his behavior is. And a big victory that Gavin Newsom didn't anticipate, Greasy Gavin Newsom. Now, Greasy Gavin Newsom is pretending that he won here. So in the distortion filter that is the American left, they play games of pretend constantly, including when they've lost decisively in court. Here's the governor of California now saying Donald Trump is not a king and not above the law, he wrote last night, in the middle of the night. He was up at 12:21 a.m. At least that was Eastern time. So, okay, maybe I'm overstating it. In California, it was earlier. But he said, tonight, the court rightly rejected Trump's claim that he can do whatever he wants with the National Guard and not have to explain himself to a court. I'm sorry, what court decision did you see? They rejected Trump's claims? No. They fully embraced and endorsed Trump's claims. We will not let this authoritarian use of military soldiers against citizens go unchecked, said Gavin Newsom. What in the hell are you even talking about? There's nothing authoritarian here. We're following black letter law here, clearly. And the use of the military. Marines are not soldiers, idiot. They're Marines. The Army, those are soldiers. And this whole thing, using them against citizens, we won't allow it to go unchecked. They're using it to restore order for citizens. That's what's happening here. So every sentence a lie from Governor Gavin Newsom of California. Gavin Newsom's got another scandal on his hands, though. Remember the French Laundry scandal from COVID? Remember that? Remember when everybody else was locked down in the state of California and Gavin Newsom got to go hang out at a fancy restaurant with things on the menu that I definitely can't pronounce, but they're they're also way out of my price range. Like everything about it was so elitist and so arrogant and so detached from what it means to be a good governor. You know, President Trump doesn't take a salary. President Trump pays $100,000 to install American flags at the White House this week. And meanwhile, Gavin Newsom, tyrannical Gavin Newsom, locks down the people of his state, and then he goes to a fancy restaurant to rub it into their faces. I've got an update. We've got another French Laundry Part 2 coming up in just a moment as cities like L.A. burn. What's Gavin Newsom been doing with his free time? I'll explore that with you in just a moment. We've got a lot to get to. And also Chris Bedford is right around the corner. We got a lot going on here. Hey, this episode, I have to tell you, is sponsored by Pocket Hose. Pocket Hose. You ever use one of these pocket hoses? Pretty cool. The world's #1 expandable hose. Old-fashioned hoses, they can get kinks and creases at the spigot. They can be cumbersome to coil up and expand and bring out to wherever you want to use them. But the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow. And it gives you freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks all the way back down to pocket size for absolutely effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra durable pocket hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. 10 years. The brand new pocket hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is a total game changer. These hoses are super convenient. Again, if you don't like the mess of a big hose that you have to coil up and try and get away in a container or put on one of those reels, all of that can be solved by the pocket hose. It's very neat. And it doesn't matter sort of what shape you're in. My mother-in-law for years loved using the pocket hose because it was simple to use. She could water all of her plants and then the thing could be put away in 2 seconds. She loved it. I love them. For a limited time, my listeners can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text Vince to 64,000. That's right. That's Vince to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Vince to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details at pockethose.com. Thank you to Pocket Hose. All right. Yeah, it is really great. It's super convenient. Okay. Let's get into Gavin Newsom's latest scandal, the French Laundry Part 2. City Journal has an excellent piece up this week on Gavin Newsom and what he was doing while LA was on fire this past week. Take a look here. Gavin Newsom sipped Cabernet while Los Angeles burned, they explained. Oh, you don't say. Oh, he was doing it again? As riots engulfed Los Angeles and mobs vandalized public buildings, incinerated vehicles, and assaulted law enforcement officers, California Governor Gavin Newsom was enjoying a swanky wine tasting party in Napa Valley. Chat, any of you live in California? Is this what you want out of your governor? This is insanity. This is basically him saying, let them eat cake. This is up yours from the governor of the Golden State. Or as my friend Chris Plant calls it now, the Golden Shower State. That's how they treat you in California. The wine tasting was held on the afternoon of June 7th of 2025 at the Odette Estate Winery, which Newsom co-founded in 2011. Oh, a little bit of corruption to go with all of this. Dubbed Vineyard Vibes, the event was a fundraiser for the Plump Jack Foundation, founded by Newsom's sister, and featured contemporary yet sophisticated wines, live jazz music, and locally made pizza and smash burgers. Oh, how fun. It's the perfect kickoff to summer fun, read the promotion for it. Yes. The fete will take place on the winery crush pad, where we'll gather for music, food, conversation, and delicious wine, they declared ostentatiously. A source who photographed Newsom at the event expressed shock that the governor was in attendance, given that riots had just broken out in Los Angeles the day before. I couldn't believe it, the source said. Well, believe it. This is Gavin Newsom. He always does crap like this. He was just walking around like this was an everyday occurrence. Newsom was at the wine party for at least 90 minutes, according to the source, who said that when the governor finally left, he appeared to retreat to the inner rooms of his winery. Yeah. As City Journal points out, the riots were in full-blown chaos by this time. It's not like Gavin Newsom was at the party and then the riot broke out. The city of LA was on fire already within the last 24 hours, and Gavin Newsom said a wine tasting party would be wonderful to go to. So when the president mobilized the National Guard to protect the city of Los Angeles, it was at a time when the governor of the state was abandoning his own people so he could throw back some Cabernets, and it completely ignored their well-being. So yes, we have another one of these. Gavin Newsom, the French Laundry, yet again, doing it to his people. Yet again, that recall, man, that should have been successful. 2021, that recall of Gavin Newsom. You know why it wasn't successful? Remember this? Because organizations like Chirla, which took taxpayer money from both California and federal taxpayers in order to support illegal aliens and to induce the protests that turned into riots now, Chirla, the very same organization, gave Gavin Newsom money to keep him from being recalled. That's right. They supported the effort to protect Gavin Newsom from accountability. So, of course, Gavin Newsom turned a blind eye. Oh, you're starting riots? Well, I owe you, so I'll let you do that. That's what happened. So there's the update on Gavin, greasy Gavin Newsom, and what he's doing to our state in California. Who's this? One man's opinion, and it's true. One man's opinion says, "Move on, Vince. Too much time spent on Gavin." How about no? How about that? Actually, I am actually technically moving on right now. But here's the thing. I care a lot about my own country, and that includes California. I don't want these illegals here. I do want order to be restored. And if you can't send a message to Los Angeles, which, by the way, Stephen Miller in the White House has made it really clear that this battle is fought in Los Angeles. That's where the whole battle for the United States is being fought. If you can't restore order in a once great American city, you're going to lose the rest of the country. So that's why I'm on this. I think this is important. I definitely think this is important. If Gavin Newsom wants to sell out the people of his state, that's fine. But I'm going to take his greasy head, I'm going to rub it directly in the sins that he's committing and make sure that the people know what's going on in their state. That's actually happening. All right. But it is true. I do have some other things to get to here, including the President of the United States coming at us with some new information about what's going on with Iran. And he's seeking a deal here. It was Caroline Leavitt who shared the news yesterday that the president is saying, okay, look, I'm extending this timeline to within 2 weeks. Take a look. Cut one. Here's Caroline Leavitt on this subject.
In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today.
Within the next 2 weeks. Now, let me point something out here about what the president is doing. I know that there's a lot of, let's just say, hysterical commentary on the subject of Iran right now. And there's people kind of going at each other from all different directions. By and large, I think the right, like Trump supporters, are engaged in a very healthy debate on how do we stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon while also stopping an immense quagmire that the United States gets sucked into. That is a deeply reasonable and sober debate. And guess what the president's doing? He's being deeply reasonable, and as a lifelong sober guy, he's being completely sober on this subject, completely sober. The president's keeping his feet planted, he's keeping his head up, and he's thinking clearly, okay, what do we do about all of this? And so right now, he's saying that if we're going to do a strike, I'm going to make that decision within the next 2 weeks. Now, we've got a couple of updates on this subject. One, in the last 24 hours, Benjamin Netanyahu did an interview where he explained that he doesn't actually need the United States to drop bunker buster bombs on Fordo. It's not mandatory. In fact, he can do it on his own. Take a look here. This, Byron York pulled some of this from a Times of Israel piece overnight. And here's what they're saying. That Israel, the prime minister says Israel is going to be able to hit all nuclear facilities and has destroyed half of all of Iran's launchers. In a rare interview, a Hebrew interview, Netanyahu said that the campaign is ahead of schedule and that the IDF can strike Fordo without the United States if needed. He also stated that the offensive will aid hostages' return as Hamas relies on Iran. Okay, that's a good development here. And the piece quotes Netanyahu in this capacity, asked whether Israel can destroy the underground Fordo facility without assistance from the United States. Netanyahu said, "We will achieve all of our objectives and hit all of their nuclear facilities," he said. "We have the capability to do that." Fordo is, as you know, buried under a mountain and widely considered to be out of reach of all but America's bunker buster bombs. But that doesn't mean they can't do this with a ground invasion if they wanted to, or send in special teams that can do this on the ground. In fact, we had an Iran expert who used to work for President Trump in the last administration earlier this week, Gabriel Noronha, who was saying, actually, there may be a lot of wisdom in actually for Israel, not the United States, for Israel to send people in to seize that uranium instead of blowing it all up and having a nuclear disaster in addition to the destruction of the nuclear enrichment site. Maybe go in and seize all of this uranium. There are definitely teams who know what to do. In fact, the United States trains people on this very mission, how you would take apart a dangerous nuclear facility. And certainly the Israelis must have the wherewithal to do that as well, being a nuclear armed power with a pretty sophisticated military. So there's Netanyahu saying, guys, we don't have to have the United States here. He said whether the president joins in or not, that's entirely his decision. So this is a good news and a good indication that you've got Netanyahu saying, look, this is within our capability. And I like to hear that because that diminishes the necessity for the United States to get involved and to put U.S. troops on the line. So that could be a meaningful announcement here. Additionally, Iran has come out and they said, yeah, we want to negotiate. But their claim as of this morning is reportedly that, yes, they're willing to talk about enrichment levels, but they're not willing to get rid of their nuclear capabilities. Well, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's going to work at all. I think President Trump is done with that shit. I think, as Pete Hegseth might say. What does Pete Hegseth say, Justin?
We're done with that shit.
Yes, we are. We're done with that shit. There you are, Justin. I was curious. Yeah, I was just curious about how quickly you could snap on that. I was wondering. 5 buttons to click? Is that the case? Okay. All right. Well, that's all right. That's all right. We're not done with that shit. We'll figure that out.
We're done with that shit.
Yes, we're done with that shit. Thank you, Justin. I love that. So we'll get updates on that. Coming up, I got Chris Bedford joining us from The Blaze. We're going to talk about those Democrats living in the wilderness. But they then won't necessarily be for long. Right now, they think they're undergoing some sort of Rocky montage. By the end of it, they're going to come out victorious, they think. I hope not. Chris Bedford's got a prescription on how to keep them there. We'll explore it. But first, I have to share with you the great sponsors of this program. That includes Birch Gold. You know, we are just days away now from what has been dubbed the Rio Reset, possibly the greatest threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in over 80 years. On July 6th, BRICS nations, Russia, China, India, Iran, and many more, are expected to unveil their plans to try to circumvent the U.S. dollar. That would crater its value. It's been reported that they've already been laying the groundwork as their central banks have been methodically divesting from the U.S. dollar and U.S. bonds in favor of gold. Now, how can you protect your IRA or your 401k from any fallout from this landmark shift? You can diversify. You can diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which, let's be honest, is right now. So get a free info kit from Birch Gold Group on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word Vince to 989898. July 6th could mark a monumental shift happening among nations that control about a third of the world's GDP. Help arm yourself with information to diversify your retirement savings. Text Vince to the number 989898 and claim your free info kit from Birch Gold. Message and data rates apply. Our thanks to Birch Gold, as always. And also our thanks to Bone Charge. Bone Charge infrared sauna blanket is wonderful. And red light face mask, wonderful. We've been using them here in my house ever since Bone Charge sent them to us. I can't recommend them enough. I first turned to that sauna blanket because it's awesome and it helps with muscle recovery, detoxification, relaxation. It's a game changer. It's very easy to use. Just wrap yourself up in this thing. Let the infrared heat work its magic. It creates a huge difference for me. You're going to love it. And the red light face mask is equally impressive. Now, my wife uses it each and every night, and she loves it because of what it does for your skin's texture and reducing inflammation. And she's seeing fantastic results. It's like having a mini spa treatment right in the house. Now, if you're thinking about trying any of these out, you're in luck. Head to BoneCharge, BONCharge.com. Use the code Vince at checkout, and you can get 15% off. Both of these products have made a huge impact on us. You're going to love them too. Use the code Vince at bonecharge.com and you'll save 15%. Now, these statements and products have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition. Alrighty. All right. Joining me now is my good friend, longtime colleague, the great Chris Bedford. He's over at The Blaze these days, and he joins us on the program. Chris, good to talk to you as always, sir.
It's great to be here, Vince.
Let me just start with the Democrats here, because I know you're writing about it today in your excellent newsletter. You point out, as I've been pointing out relentlessly, that they're a cartoonish party right now. They have no obvious leader. You know, slow-witted Hakeem Jeffries is kind of their highest profile guy, and he's incapable of speaking English sentences. But you think while they are down, we should definitely not count them out. Why is that?
I think the reason for that is because Republicans are so exposed right now. I mean, if you take a step back, the GOP has a lot of different vulnerabilities that could be taken advantage of by an actually capable politician or a party that had its acts together. I mean, we stand at the precipice of another war in the Middle East that no party is interested in. It polls abysmally. There's about 25% support for this war in a snap poll, granted, I think by the Washington Post this week. But there's 45% opposition, and the rest of the people didn't quite yet have an opinion. Now, obviously, if President Trump just went in, was successful, he got out, and nothing bad happened, then you'd have a great ticker tape parade, and everybody would be excited.
Can I ask you about those numbers for a second? Because I'm seeing a lot of there's a lot people are throwing polling numbers out right now, and there's some surveys are being like there's majority support for stopping Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Okay, but I think the point that you're making is it's being asked in a different way. It's about desire to be in a war with Iran, and that number is very small in the United States. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. It's something that polling can be so disingenuous in that, and it can be so misleading. Well, the average person, I think most people, don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Anyone who understands the threats they make. I mean, you've got the Holy Father in Rome coming out and saying no nation has a right to has to deal with being constantly threatened in its existence. They have a right to defend against that. And he's a pretty peaceful guy by all accounts. So that makes sense. But if it says, well, America has to do it, America has to get involved, America might get stuck there. Now, these aren't even part of the polling questions, but what happens if the Iranian regime topples? It's not like Israel has either the mandate or the interest or the manpower to go in and stabilize it. It would come down to us.
Yes. So if this thing gets a momentum that does suck the United States into it, which is entirely possible, it could have a deep, just as a political matter, going back to where we started, it could have a deep impact on the Republicans' ability to win in the midterms, right?
Yeah, it would have a deep impact. It would have a deep impact everywhere. It would obviously change the face of the Far East, of the Middle East, with the whole regime collapsing, Saudi Arabia's biggest enemy, and the potential for refugees once again flooding towards Europe. It could also start to split the MAGA coalition if it became a really serious thing that required U.S. forces on the ground, which it might, because Europe can't do this. China doesn't want to do this. Russia's busy. Israel can't do this. So if anyone's going to stabilize anything, it's us. That could have a dangerous effect on the Republican coalition. And at the same time, it could have an impact on America's friendship with Israel, which has been something that has gone back for years and years and years and largely been not questioned by either political party until the last 10 years when Democrats their base started to really revolt against this. You're seeing it on the streets. You're seeing it in the campuses. But if Republicans who specifically voted now for Donald Trump 3 times to stay out of these sorts of wars got sucked into another one, then that would start to fray the Israelis' relationship with the United States on both sides of the aisle. And that could be dangerous for what is an important relationship.
So I've been saying this week, and I've heard a couple of other people say it. Charlie Kirk is of this opinion, I think, J.D. Vance clearly seems to be of this opinion, being the vice president of the United States, that President Trump is uniquely situated to thread the needle on this subject because he has campaigned on two things, principally on foreign policy. One, no more needless, endless wars. I'm not going to get sucked into that. We're not in the nation building phase. I'm not making the mistakes of George W. Bush. In fact, he campaigned on condemning Bush's foreign policy. But two, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. As far as I'm concerned, Bedford, I'm looking at what's going on with Trump and I'm thinking he's the one guy I've ever seen have this much power in Washington who's taken, I think, the single most sensible position on this subject.
Yeah, and to address some of what his critics say, his attitude towards Iran right now is not at all incongruent with what he's always run on this. He wants to do things strong. He wants to do things fast. He doesn't want a nation build. And he showed you could do this potentially in Syria when Assad actually crossed red lines that he'd established. He showed that he was capable of doing this around the world. He's willing to actually make those strikes and then not get involved. I mean, Obama's people didn't know what to do about ISIS. And Donald Trump said you just bomb them into oblivion and hunt them down like dogs. That's the end. There's nothing else to it. And then you leave. So if he could do that, it'd be great. It's like a friend of mine once gave me a tip before marriage. He said, by the way, there's a lot of different things that go into a healthy marriage, but the number one trick to not getting divorced is never get divorced. You just don't do it. So maybe the number one trick to not nation building is just don't do it. It doesn't matter what's going on. But that could mean some trouble for Europe if you end up getting another rush of 1 million refugees coming their way.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I mean, we have such a long history of cleaning up all of Europe's problems. How about Europe cleans up its own mess? Maybe they can do that.
Build a wall.
Okay, so as far as the Democrats are concerned, okay, so they're lying in wait, hoping for chaos. They're constantly trying to inject chaos into everything in hopes that it brings down the Trump presidency, clearly, here domestically. But also, I understand that you have some thoughts on this big, beautiful bill and the way that Democrats are trying to exploit it right now in order to figure out some way to make it a political liability for the president. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this thing has victories all in it. It's the tax cuts are amazing. The border enforcement, the interior enforcement, amazing. I'm all for it. This is the Trump agenda on steroids. But you think that the left, if they can get control of the American mind, they can convince people that there's something bad going on here?
Yes, because whenever you have something that big, you're going to have parts of it that are exposed to your political opponents to be able to attack it. I mean, the Republicans were very successful in defining what Obamacare was better than the president at the time was able to define it, and made it a pejorative until the Democrats tried to basically reclaim the word, and now everyone calls it Obamacare. But they were able to get up mass movement, and they really beat the heck, or shellacked, as he said, the Democrats in the midterm election after that by defining what this was. And here it comes down to polling once again. So if you ask people in the United States, do you want cuts to Medicaid and food stamps? They say, no, absolutely not. Majority of people. But if you tell them, how about removing dead people from Medicaid rolls? How about working age, able-bodied adult men who self-report spending most of their day playing video games? How about removing illegal aliens from Medicaid rolls? Those are as close as you're going to get to complete and total agreement. I think it's 86% of people say we should remove the deceased from our Medicaid rolls, and those other 14% who want to keep them there, I don't think you're ever going to reach them. So these are actually really popular. The one aspect of this, which I'm writing about from Monday's newsletter, that is dangerous for Republicans is the Senate, which is reliably 15 years behind the American mood, just as terms of their age and their nature and their tenure. They want to go after some of the provider taxes. Now, this is classic Republican economics because provider taxes are essentially a tax scheme for states to not have to pay their 50% share of Medicaid funding. But at the same time, rural hospitals, which have been devastated since Obamacare passed and are really important in a lot of poor, low-tax red states like Josh Hawley's state, like West Virginia, where Jim Justice is coming from, they could get really hurt by actual reforms to this. So here you're starting to see the populists and the traditional conservative economist types clashing in the U.S. Senate, and Democrats cannot wait to say, oh, yeah, the party of the working class. Well, they just shut down the only hospital within 200 miles in this state. How are you going to deal with that? But Republicans are working on a fix on this, which is just its own fund for providing stability to rural hospitals with much smaller beds, much smaller, much poorer clientele usually, or patients, to be able to actually to stabilize them and make sure finally that we're not experiencing the closures the United States has seen over the last 10, 15 years.
You know, I can't help when we think about taking care of Americans and what are the costs and what are the trade-offs, I can't help but think every single time, why don't we deport tens of millions of people who are here illegally, sucking the system dry? I mean, that seems to be, that's the most important as far as a messaging thing, and not just messaging, just reality. Want to save a crap ton of money? As you just pointed out, 1.4 million illegals are tapping into Medicaid. Get rid of them. And that, by the way, is a conservative estimate. There's no way it's just 1.4 million illegals, but that's what the Trump administration has been telling us. You have emergency rooms across the country that are overwhelmed by illegal foreign nationals who are just using it for medical service, doing it at the expense of American citizens, and then never paying the bills. And that sticks American taxpayers with those bills. It's insanity, Chris Bedford. So when we talk about this issue, I think emphasizing getting our sovereignty back and cutting taxes and, and actually getting rid of the fraud and especially the illegal fraud, that's going to go a long way, I think, towards convincing the American people this is very good for them.
Yeah. I mean, Medicaid expenses have increased in the United States, federal expenses, 56.5% in the last 5 years. That's almost entirely Joe Biden's presidency. That's a massive surge in illegal immigrants. Of course, it's COVID, but a lot of the stuff that COVID did has stayed in place as far as the benefits and people not actually going back to work. I don't think I think a lot of Americans are happy that we have, as a civilized, wealthy nation, a safety net for those people who've fallen through the cracks of society. I don't think that anyone could come up with a reason why we should have had almost 60% increase in the cost of one of our most expensive benefits. That's being taken advantage of. That's fraud there. So Republicans just need to get out ahead. They need to fix some of their problems, and they need to message on this. They need to have the advertising, and the super PACs are already going so that they can define this. And to their great credit, not even to their credit, Democrats are completely incapable of capitalizing on this. Gavin Newsom's being turned on by his own people, turning on his own city. His city's burning down twice now in a year.
Yeah.
Everything is going to heck for the Democrats. They don't have any kind of champion.
Okay, so if I can, because I know you're good at making fun of these people, so let's just do that. I'm looking at these the Democrat Party right now, and like I said, Hakeem Jeffries he's at best a midwit. The guy is not actually capable of doing anything masterful on behalf of his party. Meanwhile, like over in the Senate, Chuck Schumer is just a goof. I mean, the guy is ridiculous. He's threatening Supreme Court justices. He's insane. And the most outspoken Democrats right now are people like Jasmine Crockett, who the president relishes the fact he was kind of, I'll play some audio coming up on that. He thinks it's hilarious that she's kind of the leader of their party right now. And meanwhile, the DNC, nobody knows this guy's name, but I'll just tell everybody, they have a guy called Ken Martin who's running the DNC. That's the actual DNC chairman. He's a nobody. You've got Randy Weingarten and various union officials quitting the DNC in a huff. They just fired David Hogg because he's a white guy. They straight up chose racial and gender prejudice in order to get rid of a guy who was advocating for primaries in their party because he sees the writing on the wall. He's like, our party sucks right now. I mean, I got to be honest. I'm deriving about as much joy as you can from the chaos in their party right now, Chris.
I think that if Jasmine Crockett didn't exist, conservative media would have to invent her just for the lulz, just for the clicks, just for the quotes. She's a perfect thing. She's just an embodiment of all of the dumb and all of the yes queen and all of the snapback put into like a member of Congress, which is kind of embarrassing for her constituents. But it's just a constant source of entertainment.
It is.
And the DNC is such a mess. I mean, you have Ken Martin crying on the phone, talking to the principals of the party because David Hogg has screwed so much up for him. Now, granted, David Hogg comes in there as a 20-something-year-old and says, well, I'm going to take party money and I'm going to use it against party people I don't like, and I'm going to try and use it to raise money for my nonprofit. And that's not what you're supposed to do as vice chairman of the DNC. So they use the racial quota system, which they have in place, to kick him out. But now there's such uproar. You got Randy Weingarten, who might be maybe the worst person in the country. She's the one who's responsible for keeping your kids out of school for all those years and protecting the bureaucracy that has grown up and using teachers as a face mask, as a skin suit for what's actually just a bloated bureaucratic system of social justice warriors. She's the person responsible, but she's also one of the last remaining union heads that's really, truly aligned with the Democratic Party. She just resigned her post. You've got state government, federal and municipal employees and county employees union. The head of that just left, the DNC. Said, I'm not going to be a part of this. They're looking around. I guess they have Service Employees International, but between that and the actual manufacturing unions joining the GOP, this is a rough time to be a Democrat. And the internal battles they're having have not yet been figured out because I think no champion has actually risen up.
Well, also, as you've pointed out in the past, all of their leadership is ridiculously old. First of all,
age, older than Politburo.
A bunch of these guys have already died this year. I'm talking members of Congress, Democrat members of Congress keep dropping like flies. They keep passing away. Did you see the video? Fellas, can we take me full screen for a second here? I want to show people this. This is a video of Jerry Nadler this week, who was denied access to an ICE facility. I don't even know how they got him there, but he's standing for a second. Take a look at this. Here's Jerry Nadler. This guy, he can barely walk. Look at this. He's like stumbling around. There you go. He's moving half an inch at a time. This guy's in no shape to be a member of Congress right now. And so that's the state of their party right now, Chris Bedford. I'm kind of getting the feeling that these guys are all headed to the grave really rapidly.
When Ronald Reagan dealt with two Soviet premiers dying in his first term, he said, I don't even know who to negotiate with. They keep on dying so quickly. And that was just the sign. The Politburo and the Soviet premiers was a sign of how old and decrepit that system was. Those people were all younger than the Democratic leadership, except for Hakeem Jeffries, younger than Pelosi, younger than Schumer, younger than Biden. I mean, granted, they smoked a carton a day and drank a couple bottles of vodka. They lived a little harsher. But still, this is a sign of just the white knuckle gripping to power. And I think one of the causes for it, one of the reasons that people like Schumer are gripping to power is because they're so afraid of the new youth that are coming up. You look at Schumer, he's a New York Democrat, he's Israeli-friendly, Jewish senator. He looks at the college students, he looks at the base, he says, these guys are dressed as terrorists. They're completely insane. They want Medicaid for all, and they feel like they're trying to hold on, but they don't have the strength to actually turn that ship around at all.
It's the same thing. It's always the same thing. They pretend they like the kids. They bring them into the organization. They empower them. They call them, you're an associate at Starbucks now. And then the second that they assert themselves, the whole organization collapses. They're like, but I don't want to wear the uniform to work. I want to wear purple hair and septum rings. And they're like, no, you're not doing that. The whole organization collapses. David Hogg comes into the DNC for 5 minutes. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well. Let them lead the way. David Hogg walks in. He's like, I've got some big ideas. There's like, no, shut up, you twerp. We don't want you here. So they get rid of the whole thing. This is the Civil War that I relish. I love this. That party can't collapse soon enough. But somehow, like a cockroach, it just keeps moving. I don't understand it. Hey, Chris Bedford, man, you're the best. Thank you. Always appreciate you and your great work over at The Blaze, sir.
Thank you, Vince. I'll see you later.
Good to talk to you. The great Chris Bedford. Can't recommend him enough. He's great. Longtime bartender, longtime journalist, great American. Chris Bedford. Okay, let me show you something else that's going on here. This is crazy. Jasmine Crockett is out. I was just telling you about this. Jasmine Crockett says that the majority of the country, cut 6, the majority of the country that voted for President Trump, of course, the only way that happened is because they're all mentally ill. That's right. Most voters, says Jasmine Crockett, who is famously mentally ill, most voters, she projects, are mentally ill. Take a look at Jazz.
The idea that we don't care how many people get hurt. We don't care how we prostitute our service members, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really
Why is she dressed like
and
Big Bird?
anybody that supports it is also sick. And so, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period. This is not partisan for me. Like, I would give anything to have, sad to say, George Bush. Give me any regular Republican nowadays.
George Bush.
And I would be happy, but
any regular Republican, she said, we got a mental health crisis in the country. There's just no way you could support Trump unless you were mentally ill, says the mentally ill congresswoman. Isn't that wonderful? So they've gone from deplorable to garbage to you're all mentally ill for supporting President Trump. Where are the normal Republicans like George W. Bush? George W. Bush, are you a psychopath? I think the answer to that is, of course, yes. George W. Bush? That's who you're for? The Iraq war guy? That's what you're into? Holy cow. Caroline Leavitt was asked about this insanity yesterday at the White House by our good friend Mary Margaret Olahan over at the Daily Wire. And Caroline Leavitt, to her great credit, because she's got the capability to do this, she defended Trump voters from this type of defamatory nonsense. Take a look. Cut 7, Caroline Leavitt at the White House yesterday.
Respond to that, especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now.
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did. And the America First movement, which President Trump has built, is filled of hardworking patriots, the forgotten men and women, business owners, law enforcement officers, nurses and teachers, and middle America, as we all know, from where you all grew up, outside of this beltway. That's who makes up this president's movement. And Jasmine Crockett should go to a Trump rally sometime, and she can see it for herself.
Yeah. And yeah, she should actually. She should go to a Trump rally. She said this week that she feels like she's constantly under threat, that everyone's trying to attack her. She's crazy. She's truly crazy. Good for Caroline Leavitt for taking the high road, though. I mean, she, obviously made fun of Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, good. You keep doing that because you're just driving more people into our corner, which is good. But at the same time, I like that she stood up for Trump voters. She said, this is the forgotten man and woman. These are patriots, hardworking people all across the country who she's slandering as mentally ill simply for voting for the other guy. That's how far the left has stooped. And also, it's another indication that the left is not going to try to convince you. The left is not going to try and make a better argument. They're not. They're not going to try and offer you policy prescriptions to convince you that they're on your side and they're going to somehow improve the lives of you or your family. Instead, they're going to try and condemn you for your decision to support Trump. And they'll continue, if they get power again, to wield it in a tyrannical way, to send SWAT teams to the homes of Trump supporters, to Christians, to Catholics, to put you in leg irons, and then put it on CNN to try and accentuate the shame of having been arrested by the federal government. That's the goal, to destroy your life, your relationships, to bankrupt you. And when it comes to conversations, they're not interested. They just want to censor. That's it. Censorship, baby. Let's shut down these conversations. In fact, I'll spare you the clip, but President Obama was out this week saying that very thing. He was talking about how we have to have systems in place to handle all of this misinformation, he claimed, and disinformation. What he means, of course, is countervailing facts that demonstrate the failure of the left. And so that's why this experience, the one that you and I get to have each day, is super valuable. Thank you. Dragon Lady 1 saying, I love your shows, Vince. Thank you. Dragon Lady, look, this is why this is valuable. Independent media, Rumble, podcasts, these conversations where we can air all of this out without the filters, without the censors, without the left getting in our way, without people with Jasmine Crockett's judgment hanging over us and deciding whether or not you get to hear these things. That's how you get a healthy country. A healthy country is where you have robust debate, including about big picture items like, are we going to war in Iran? What's this going to look like? What happens next? Adult, reasonable, sober conversations. That's all I want. And that's why I'm so grateful that we get to do this every day. You are really the best damn audience in media. I can't thank you enough. If you guys like the show, and I hope you do, and I know you're here for that, then would you please share it? Let other people know what we're up to. I appreciate that. I want to make sure that make this as big as humanly possible. And I'm constantly rooting you on, praying for you every day. Love this audience. And again, just grateful to you. Thank you very much. I'll be back Monday with another edition of Vince. And of course, the radio show I've got later today.
Alo, chào mừng các bạn quay trở lại với kênh mình nhá. Ngon ngon. Cốt gì? Cốt chơi vào sới kia. 1, 2, 3